So one of the big questions have kind of come around to ever since Zack Snyder announced that his cut of Justice League was going to be coming out sometime in 2021, which now we know is coming out on March 18th. One of the big questions has always come around is, what if this 4-hour movie does well? What happens if this does well? I mean, we understand that Warner Brothers and DC thinks this is going to be a cul-de-sac. It's going to be a suite that goes nowhere, as I quote. But what if this does do well? Like, seriously. Because normally when something does well, you just, make a sequel, or you make a second season, you do spin-offs and all that kind of stuff. What could happen? Now, there's a couple of possibilities that I had in my head. One is what people, the hardcore fans of Zack Snyder, of his DC films, want, and that is the restore the Snyderverse, which attains. Let me think. It attains Justice League 2 and 3. It attains Ben Affleck doing his Batman movie, and David Ayer releasing his cut of Suicide Squad. That's what it attains to. With some of it I can see happening, but some I don't really see happening. But, so that's one. The other one is they do animation. That, hey, this thing does well. Maybe it does decent numbers, but it's not the gangbusters, but there's an audience for it. Like, actually, there's an audience for it, right? So, what do you do then? Like, you don't want to chip in. Like, let's be honest, the budget of this thing is enough to make another Justice League movie. It's a big amount of money that attached. I think it's like $70 million. Yeah, $70 million to complete the effects and edit it and have reshoots and all of this whole thing. And I'm thinking, why do they do animation? And I did ask myself, how much does like a Frozen 2 cost? Or a Soul, like a regular Disney cost? It's $150. So in my head, I'm thinking, a $50 million animated movie of Justice League 2. You get the cast back. Everyone's able to be the characters without actually being the characters, and saying to themselves, Christ, we don't have to eat chicken every 2 minutes, all these type of things. So that could be a possibility. But the other one is that we just see a lot of what ifs, a lot of what could have beens, that Disney or Lucasfilm sees the Snyder Cut and it becomes a success, and we see the Lord and Miller cut of Solo, or we see the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, or we see this cut, and we just see different versions of movies of that we have seen. We just see different cuts and see different takes and different versions. Like, we keep seeing alternate universes and the what ifs and what could have been. So we could actually be seeing that if it does well. So that could be a thing. And then the sad thing is it's a cul-de-sac. That's the thing. That it could be a cul-de-sac. It could be a suite that goes nowhere. It could just be that. But yeah, it is a good mindset to be like, what could happen if this does well? And realistically, Man of Steel is somehow split towards critics and audiences. Batman v Superman is a divisive towards critics and audiences. It's a whole minefield of it. And also, they had to kind of market to the general public and explain that this isn't a regular director's cut. It isn't just, here's X amount of minutes of a movie that you saw in theaters and that you may have owned. It's not that. It's the original version of the movie that you this is the film that you were promised that you were going to go see, and you got the film that you got given, and that's pretty much what it is. So it'll be interesting. They need to market it. They got about a month and 18 days to do it. So, but yeah, it's that mindset. What happens if the Snyder Cut does well? Comment below what you think will happen, and not what you think will happen, or no, what you think will happen, what they should be doing, but what you think realistically will happen.